Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy is saying see you later to College Station and hello to Columbia, South Carolina. Let's grade the latest edition for the Gamecocks defensive line. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson, and today let's talk about what Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, the former 5-star defensive tackle, brings to a Clayton White defense. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification down below, and subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials. The link is in the description. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports and me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. Download the GameTime app and use the promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. Guys, this isn't just for college football. It's for the NFL. It's for the NBA. It's for the NHL. You got your favorite comedy show coming to town. Just go use the GameTime app and use promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy is a name that I have been hearing about for years. I remember covering him when I was at Texas A&M and his recruitment. He was eventually going to go to Oklahoma, flipped at the last second, part of that historic 2022 class. But yet, here we are. And Dave, the crazy part is, this is a guy that is looking to not only spark his career, but he could either go pro next year if he wants to, or he could come back for 2 more years. He's got 3 years of eligibility, which I think is what makes him the most interesting man so far in our recruiting videos and our grades, because there's not a lot of film on him. What is on him is pretty remarkable, but also this could be a first-round pick, or he could be in college for the next 3 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually know Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy and his family pretty well. Good people. Believe they come from a military background, moved back. They were moving to College Station, I believe his parents again. So I was at UCF when we recruited him. We had a guy on our staff that used to coach at Lakeland High School, which is where he was from. So he came and visited, hung out with us all the time. So we got to know the kid pretty well. Very good kid, very polite kid. You're right, former 5-star, part of that dynamic Texas A&M. We never had a chance. We were almost just recruiting him just off a bounce back potentially, like just in case, hey, you want to come back closer home to Florida. But we knew it was Oklahoma A&M. But good kid. You're right. For whatever reason, for 1 year, it was an injury. It kind of held him out. It just never really got going. I don't think it was anything off the field. Elijah Robinson, who I worked with at Texas A&M, never had anything bad to say about this kid. I mean, I never knew anybody that met this kid that didn't like him. So it wasn't anything like that. I'd be shocked. It just, as you know, Barry, you cover Texas A&M. I mean, you can just get pushed down that depth chart in that defensive line room real quick because they sign dudes every year in that room. But it's a good get for South Carolina. You're right. It's a very high ceiling, kind of lower floor. You just don't know what you're going to get. You're right. This could be like he could have a massive impact next year because he has all the ability in the world and he has position versatility where he can line up sometimes outside and even move into some shades and 3 techs over there. But it also could be you could be like, man, Gabriel Brownlow, he could be that guy in 2 years back. He's still playing college football. You know, it could be that it's a big ceiling, big floor, or low floor too. So I could see this going anywhere. But again, I do remember this recruitment that got taking me back to when I worked in college football with Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. But a good kid, high upside kid. Hey, at worst, if you're South Carolina, you're taking this kid being like, I mean, he's at least going to be in our top 4 to 6 deep here on the interior, and he's going to get reps. And if you're a South Carolina fan wanting to go back and watch, if I remember, his best game was probably against New Mexico, where he actually made some impact against if you want to go back and watch any of his A&M stuff. But good take. I mean, you always need depth on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Number 5 defensive lineman in the country coming out in 2022. Number 17 recruit nationally. Second best player coming out of the state of Florida. Initially going to go to Oklahoma. Flipped at the last second to go to College Station. Played in just 8 games during his 3 seasons. 4 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss. He was listed as a backup, so he was still on the roster for the Lone Star Showdown, the revitalization of one of the greatest rivalries in college football. But he didn't play. And what's really interesting, Dave, is that if you go look at his stat line this past year, he did not play in a single SEC game. So we have not seen him go up against SEC competition in nearly 2 full years. On top of that, he was redshirted. So it's a lot of we're going off of attributes. But as you brought this up, defensive line depth is critical in college football. You need it. You want to be considered a contender. You want to be considered a force. You better have the 5 men up front on the offensive line and a 6th or 7th behind him and 4 men up front on the defensive line with 5 or 6 behind them. Because when you lose a player that hurts your continuity, the entire ship is sailed. The program is coerced. The system has been debugged. It becomes a problem. I think that's where you're going to get in Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. They need to get an upgrade for defensive line. They have some young guys coming on in, but they are going to lose Alex Huntley. They are going to lose Tonka Hemingway. I think it's very clear that TJ Sanders is not coming back either. He's considered by many people in the draft world to be anywhere between a late first, early second round pick. South Carolina does that all the time. They'll land one or two dudes that find their way into the draft conversation, then shoot on up the boards in April. That could be a TJ Sanders. On top of that, you're going to lose Kyle Kennard. So I think that when you look at the position flexibility, he's a defensive tackle that can line up on the outside for certain pass rushing formations. He's a guy that you can throw down in the box. He stands 6'8", if I'm not mistaken, or 6'6", roughly around 310 pounds. 6'3", my apologies. Probably could gain a little bit more weight on him if you want to. I like the fact that he is a multi-purpose player, and that for a guy like Clayton White, who's taken multiple defensive linemen in the last 2 years and gotten them more enhanced to SEC style of play, you're getting him to work with another dude that just speaks defense and just speaks trench warfare.
No, you're 100% right, Barry. They had to replace overall. They had to replace the depth they're potentially probably going to lose. You mentioned it, Alex Huntley, Tonka Hemingway. You had to replace those guys across the board. They lose a lot in the front seven. But again, I see no negative to this, in my opinion. Like I said, I think he's going to be good enough to at least be a depth guy here. And again, he's a big-bodied kid. He's going to be a program guy. It fits into the culture there in South Carolina. I really see no negative to this. Again, if he just turns into a guy that's only playing 12, 15 snaps for you a game, I mean, still you need those guys on the defensive line in this league because inevitably we both know you're going to collect injuries. Little nitpicky ones that, in today's game, they may have to show up in the SEC injury report. But for the most part, you're never healthy after that first practice. So the more depth you have, whoever has that best. I mean, look at Tennessee. I mean, those dudes roll 10 deep on the defensive line. And that's why they are where they are in the college football playoff this year. I mean, South Carolina fans are accustomed to seeing a good defensive line. They know what that's supposed to look like. But you can only again, the worst case to me, depth here. So you can't dislike it. The ceiling, though, through the roof. If he flips it on, though, the sky's the limit.
The other thing that's really important, Dave, when talking about a guy like Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy and Shane Beamer in this sense, it's the way that Texas has gone about its recruiting. Maybe they're only going to have a guy play 10 to 12 snaps per game. But number one, they're going to be the 12 most influential snaps of his tenure every single Saturday. And number two, it's going to help his team while hurting another opponent. Because if there were going to be names out there in the SEC, whether it be Kentucky, whether it be Ole Miss, whether it be Mississippi State, whether it be Florida, they would have gone after a Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy because of the exact same reasons we're talking about, depth purposes. And maybe he would be starting week one. Maybe he'd be playing 28 snaps a game or 35 snaps a game. But instead, he's going to be playing maybe 15 to 18. Every single one of those snaps is going to be critical. And it's going to benefit South Carolina. They have expectations now, and they deserve to have expectations. They're going to have a shot to finish 10-3 on the year. They're going to have an opportunity to close out the season with the top 10 ranking in the AP poll, and they're going to be able to build off this success and translate it into 2025 that hopefully lands in a college football playoff berth. Dave, let's go ahead and grade the selection. Whenever we do this, we talk all the time about these certain numbers that are needed for the listing. I'll let you go through it real fast. Elite, all league, winnable plus, winnable minus, and even though you don't really need to bring up POI or JAG, you kind of know what POI or JAG is.
Yeah, so elite. So I use this grading system for my time in college football. We used it originally started. Marshall Malco came up with this. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. He's the chief of staff at Marshall. This really at Oregon. Used this at Georgia. Kirby Smart, Oregon uses this. Alabama, Coach Saban and them never. He was more of the Belichick critical factors, which is fine too. But this is more of a simplified answer once we got to the portal where we need to be speaking the same language from the college side, high school side, and the portal side of things. But the elite side, we're not going to give out elite grades for the most part here, guys. These are the dudes of dudes here, that rare day one starters: Travis Hunter, Caleb Williams, Will Anderson. All league. Again, if you have a team full of all these guys, you're going to win a lot of football games, but it's not really where the core of the team's going to be. All league, for sure, year one or year two starter, has the talent to be an SEC contributor. Day one, projects to be a future all-conference player, high draft pick. Winnable plus. This is where you want. If you're taking 10 guys in your class, you want at least 6 to 7 of these guys, in my opinion, if you want to go win a championship, be in the SEC, to be in this winnable plus age range here. Winnable plus, not an immediate SEC starter, but projects to be a reliable SEC starter at some point, likely in year 2 or year 3. Could have a chance to be a first-year contributor in certain situations. Has high upside, projects to be an NFL draftable player. Winnable minus, again, not going to read the caption for here, but this is not a bad thing. This is a guy that you can win with, but you're not going to win because you got to surround him by some other guys. And I talk about this all the time. I'm glad we're doing Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy here. this one always came into me when I was giving this grade to offensive lineman, defensive lineman. It's like, hey, like he can have a role. He's never going to be outside of his assignment. Hey, potential offensive lineman, he can be out on the field because he can help tell, hey, one of our most talented guys what to do as a young guy. Like you need, it's kind of as a core unit here. And then, as Cole said, JAG, POI. But I'll go here for Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. I'll go winnable plus here. I feel like you could make a case to me winnable minus as well. And like I said, the ceiling floor, the wide range of variety, what you could get from Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy is potential all league to me. I mean, I think I'll go winnable plus. I think you can win because of him, and I'm giving more of that ceiling, more of an edge, and just knowing the kid personally. He's a good kid, going to come in, work hard. I expect him to have a good year next year. I'm going to go winnable plus. Would not hate it, though, if someone wanted to go winnable minus.
Well, don't hate it because I'm going winnable minus. I don't think that it's a bad move whatsoever. I think it's a much needed move for Shane Beamer. They're losing so much on that defensive line. Like, yes, you're going to trust Dylan Stewart to have another breakout year and a sophomore surge and then a sophomore slump. But I haven't seen enough of GBD. I just haven't. And I feel like that when you get to go work with Mike Elko and there's not a role for you that can be carved out and you're still trying to find what your niche is for this defensive line, at best, I think that you're going to be a rotational player in year one, maybe grow into your second year into a starter. And maybe that starter is only playing 28 snaps per game or 26 snaps per game. But I do think that, again, depth is necessary. If you want to win in college football, if you want to win in football in general, people talk about the flash on the outside, bringing in a star wide receiver, bringing in a can't-miss tight end, a quarterback that can make every single throw and every single read, and he's just slinging it around the yard like no one's business. You got to be able to have the offensive and defensive line. Trench warfare decides football games. And I think that the fact that you're bringing in a GBD to be at least a rotational guy, 10 to 15 snaps per game, that's a winnable minus formula. It's one that I think you can get behind. I think there's a vision for him. I think there's a lot to like about the upside of Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, but I got to see the upside start take that next step because if it's just continuously, this is the year he's going to hit. This is the year he's going to hit. He's worked out really well in the offseason. He's done this. He's done that. Well, I keep hearing it. So I'm tired of hearing it. Let's see it. I think he's in a much better situation than he is at Texas A&M. I think that he could start right away. I think eventually he will start, but I'm going to go winnable minus simply on the fact I haven't seen enough for me to be able to give him a winnable plus.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately walks in. He's in the 2 deep at that role. But yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling's all league and the floor is winnable minus. I mean, you said there's no negative to this take as well because just knowing the kid, the character of the kid, it's not like he's going to bring down the locker room either. So, I mean, I see a great take across the board. I think he at least at very, very bare minimum, he's a depth piece.
Let us know in the comments section. What do you think of the arrival of Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy in Columbia? Like, review, hit subscribe down below. Make sure that you go ahead and follow us on the socials. Link is in the description. Follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports. Me and Miss Cole Thompson. Check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I am Cole Thompson. War Chickens! You got yourself a defensive lineman. Peace.